Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week I'm going to do the top 10 small sized silver certificates. Don't forget, if you have an idea for a list, go ahead and put that down in the comments, and if I can make that list happen, I will. I've got a couple lists that I'm working on right now. After the holidays, I'm going to tackle those a little bit more diligently, so I will knock those out. For the holidays, I wanted to make sure I did something that I had on hand without a problem. So that's what I'm doing this time, the top 10 small size silver certificates. So here we go. Number 10. Number 10 would be your standard $1 silver certificate. These were from, this particular one is from 1957. Standard silver certificate, the back looks exactly like you'd see today. The front looks very similar to today, but if you actually take a close look, there's a lot of minor differences compared to the current currency. I can just reach over here and grab one and show you. For instance, you have the ovals on the bottom rather than the shape there. Those ovals are similar, but you can see that the design is slightly different compared to the two. So yeah, the 1957 $1 silver certificate, very close to what we have now. That's why it's such a familiar looking note. This is number 10 on the list. Number 9. No, it's not the same note. This is actually a slightly different note. By slightly, I mean just. This is from 1935. Now, 1935 versus the 1953, like I've got here, the 53, no, this one's the 57. Now, the 1935, what makes this one different is what's on the back of the note. On the back of this note, you can see at a glance, looks normal, looks like a regular note until you put it next to the one from later on. You can clearly see "In God We Trust," and that was not on the note in 1935. So the 1935 silver certificate, known as a godless note, did not have the motto "In God We Trust." Penn and Teller would call this constitutional. So that's number 9. Number 8. Going back a little further, this $1 silver certificate is from, where is that? 1928 A series. Now this one has the seal on the left rather than on the right, and you can see the size of the number 1 here, or the word 1, is a lot bigger than what we're used to seeing on modern currency. The big difference is with the seal on this side here. Now the silver certificate from 1928 is known as a funny back. It's got a much different back than what we're used to seeing. 1928 and 1934 had these, and if you were going through a bunch of notes in the mid-40s and you saw some of these would stand out. That's how they got their nickname, the funny backs. So this one's a 1928A silver certificate. That's number 8 on my list. Number 7. Number 7, we are going with the 1934 $1 note. This one is also known as a funny back. This one's in really good shape, by the way. This is one of my favorite notes. I really like the blue numeral here. So once again, you're talking the differences. Here's the 35, 1935. This was the 34. Now, having the blue numeral here was only available in the 34s. 34s had the blue numeral in all denominations. This one here is the funny back, though, so I make sure to keep that separate. Funny back, blue numeral. And in the 34 compared to the 1928, you can see the seal has moved from the left to the right. It's over here, and we now have a numeral over here. So the 1934, that is number 7 on my list. Number 6. Number 6, we are going with a 1953 $5 note. Now, actually, this would be the 1953 series is what I'm going to call it, because not only is this a 1935, sorry, what is that? 1953. Not only is this a 1953 $5 bill, too many fives to think about at once, but they also made a $10 version in the same pattern. You've got the gray 10 over here as well. So the 1953 set with the gray, this was also the same in 1935. Yeah, so the 1935 and 1953 had the gray numeral. So that series I would definitely call next on the list. I'm going to clump them both together. And while I was going through those, I didn't realize that I didn't have the 10. So I went on eBay and I picked up one that should be in the mail within the week. So 1935 and 1953, 5 and 10 with the gray numeral. That would be next up on the list. 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6 on the list. Number 5, I'm going with the 1934 silver certificates. This is the 5 and this is the 10. Now I separated the 1 from the 34 list because the $1 1934, this one here, you can see how it fits the pattern on the front, but the 34 has the unusual back, the funny back. The 34.5 and the 34.10, well, they've got the normal back. So that's why I didn't include the 1 with this particular series. That's the 5, that's the $10 bill right there. So the 1934s are the only silver certificates that actually have this blue numeral here. Here's the blue numeral on the 34.5, the blue numeral on the 34 $10 bill. I am a huge fan of that blue numeral. I like that on the 5, I like it on the 10. I'm a huge fan of the 1. You know, like I said, the 34s are so cool for having that numeral. You only get that blue numeral on the 34s. The 5 and the 10 are pretty awesome, and they make my list at number 5. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yep, number 5. Number 4 for my silver certificates. This is one of my emergency currency notes. This is the Hawaii note. This one is from 1935. Now, because it's from 1935, this is the only 1935 silver certificate in the Hawaii series. The other notes were Federal Reserve notes. So the 5, the 10, and the 20 were all Federal Reserve notes. The only Hawaii note that was a silver certificate was the $1 bill. So the $1 bill from Hawaii has the familiar back on that. You can see the word Hawaii was written on the back, and it was stamped on the front as well. You also have the brown seal on there. So that's the emergency currency from Hawaii. Still a silver certificate, and number 4 on the list. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yep, number 4. Number 3. One of the experimental notes. This silver certificate is from the 1935A series. And what they did with this series was they were doing an experiment to see how well a different type of coating on the paper would work. So what they did for that experiment is they issued a bunch of notes that had an R, which had the regular paper, and they put those out in circulations. And then they put out another note that is kind of special. And when those notes were in circulation for a while, they then recalled them and were able to compare the wear patterns. So this was one of the first, technically, Where's George notes. As they were recalled, they were able to find out which had done better. And it turns out that they didn't really find a difference. So the R note from the 1935 series, that is next up on the list, number 3. So if the R note is number 3, we got to put the S note as the number 2. 1935 A S note. This one was printed on the special paper. This, like I said, much like the R note, was the original Where's George. They were put out in circulation. They were going to test how the wear goes. If you compare one note to another, it's not a fair comparison, but if you compare a million notes to a million of the other ones, then you get a better idea, or at least that's what they thought, because like I said, the experiment didn't go too well. That's the back there. Once again, very familiar. This is the 1935 S note, and this one is number 2 on my list because it's just a note you don't see very often. Finally, number 1 on my list. There's 3 of them. Number 1 on my silver certificate list is my North Africa emergency currency notes. I listed these as number 1, all 3 of them, because you get so much color on these. You're not supposed to get color on money. That's not the way you think about currency. But the North Africa notes have the gold seal. You can see they are silver certificates there. They've got the, yellow seal, I guess I should say. They've got the blue numerals. You've got green on the back. You've got black printing here. You've got white paper. So many different colors on these notes. It's just amazing that this is the closest to pretty money we've had in a long time. This is the $1 bill, of course. The $1 bill, very familiar with the back like that. The $5 bill is the tougher note to get in this series. Once again, the blue numeral here. You only have the gray numeral on the one. The blue numeral, because this is a 34A. This is a 35. 35A, gray numeral. 34A, blue numeral. And the $10 bill, same way, 34A, blue numeral. Only the 34s have the blue numeral. There was not a 35 a $10 bill or a 35 $5 bill. They were only the 34s. And those are some of the prettiest notes you're going to find. That is the top 10 silver certificates. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, you forgot the 1933 $10 silver certificate. There were only like 250,000 of those printed, and it looks exactly like some of the others. That's why I didn't bring out that particular one. I obviously don't have one. So, yeah, that's not going to be part of my list. Anyway, that's my top 10 small size silver certificates. If you agree with my list, go ahead and give me a like. If you think I missed one, go ahead and put that down in the comments. If you have an idea for a list, go ahead and leave that as well. I'm going to try to knock out some more of the lists that you guys have requested. I will feature your channel, and I will put your channel name on top as well if you were the one to make a certain list. Guys, thank you very much for checking this out, and I will see you again next week.